Welcome back, friends. We're almost to Christmas. And if you're not entirely swept away by the commercialization of Christmas and all the glitz and the glam, perhaps you can feel the tension of Advent rising and rising. You can feel the whole world breathless with anticipation for the birth of the Christ child. That's exactly what I'm feeling, and it's exactly what C.S. Lewis felt. He wrote this wonderful poem called The Turn of the Tide. It's a little bit long. I'm going to read it for you. And probably it's a poem you need to read at least a couple times to fully appreciate. But this will be a good first pass. And this poem is really about what C.S. Lewis would have called a Eucatasteophe, right? This joyous, it's like a catastrophe, but it's joyous and it's glad. And it's revolutionary in its scope and in its depth. And that's exactly what the birth of our Lord is. It turned the course of history. It's the linchpin of all of human history. And so he's building in this poem that same tension, and then he's relieving it at the very, very end. So without further ado, here it goes. The Turn of the Tide. Breathless was the air over Bethlehem. Black and bare were the fields, hard as granite the clods, hedges stiff with ice, the sledge in the vise of the pool like pointed iron rods. And the deathly stillness spread from Bethlehem. It was shed wider each moment on the land. Through rampart and wall, into camp and into hall stole the hush. All tongues were at a stand. At the procurator's feasts, the jocular freeman ceased his story and gaped. All were glum. Travelers at their beer in a tavern turned to hear the landlord. Their oracle was dumb. But the silence flowed forth to the islands in the north and smothered the unquiet river bars and leveled out the waves from the reveling and paved the sea with cold reflected stars. Where the Caesar on Palatine sat at ease to sign, without anger, signatures of death, there stole into his room, and on his soul a gloom, and his pen faltered, and his breath. Then to Carthage and the Gauls, past Parthia and the falls of Nile, and Mount Amara it crept. The romp and war of beast in swarm and jungle ceased. The forest grew still as though it slept. So it ran about the girth of the planet. From the earth a signal, a warning went out, and away behind the air. Her neighbors were aware of change. They were troubled with a doubt. Salamanders in the sun that brandished as they run, tails like the Americas in size, were stunned by it and dazed. Wondering, they gazed up at earth, misgiving in their eyes. In houses and signs, Osiarchs divine grew pale and questioned what it meant. Great galacto lords stood back to back with swords half drawn, awaiting the event. And a whisper among them passed, "Is this perhaps the last of our story and the glories of our crown? The entropy worked out, the central redoubt abandoned, the world's spring running round." Then they could speak no more. Weakness overbore even them. They were as flies in a web, in their lethargy stone dumb. The death had almost come. The tide lay motionless at ebb. Like a stab at that moment over crab and bowman, over maiden and lion came the shock of returning life. The start and burning pang at heart, setting galaxies to tingle and rock. And the lords dared to breathe, and swords were sheathed, and a rustling, a relaxing began, with a rumor and noise of the resuming joys. On the nerves of the universe it ran. Then, pulsing into space with delicate, dulcet pace, came a music infinitely small and clear. But it swelled and drew nearer and held all worlds in the sharpness of its call. And now, divinely deep and louder, with the sweep and quiver of inebriating sound, the vibrant dithyramb shook Libra and the ram. The brains of Aquarius spun round, such a note as neither throne nor potentate had known, since the word first founded the abyss. But this time it was changed and mysterious, estranged, a paradox, an ambiguous bliss. Heaven danced to it and burned. Such answer was returned to the hush, the favette, the fear that earth had sent out. Revel, mirth, and shout descended to her, sphere below sphere. Saturn laughed and lost his latter age's frost. His beard Niagara-like unfroze. Monsters in the sun rejoiced. The innocent one, the unwedded moon, forgot her woes. A shiver of rebirth and deliverance on the earth went gliding. Her bonds were released. Into broken light a breeze rippled and woke the seas. In the forest it startled every beast. Capropods fell to dance, from Topraban to France, leprechauns from down to Labrador. In his green Asian dell, the phoenix from his shell burst forth, and was the phoenix once more. So death lay in arrest. But at Bethlehem the blessed, nothing greater could be heard than a dry wind in the thorn, the cry of the one newborn, and cattle in stall as they stirred. Lovely poem. As you can see, he takes all the world and then all the gods and all of outer space, and they all stop for a moment, breathless. What's going to happen? And then it all springs forth. This musical joy overwhelms the cosmos, and it's all from that one newborn and his cry. What a poem for our times. So hope you enjoyed that. Have a very Merry Christmas. I'll see you in a couple days.